YouTube? What's going on? I hope y'all are having a dope-ass day today. It's your boy Alex, and I'm back today with another reaction video. Welcome back to the channel where we react to predominantly 99.9% metal and hard rock. But today we're going to be checking out something creepy, something weird, something bizarre, something serial killer oriented. We got Inside the Mind of Jeffrey Dahmer, Serial Killer's chilling jailhouse interview.
This, to me, might be considered kind of a step backwards, wouldn't you say?
Okay, so we're going to check out the whole thing. I thought that this would be an interesting spin, just a cool little video. I wanted to test the waters and just start reacting to a bunch of different shit because that's interesting. If you don't adapt, you are doomed for failure.
Facts.
And we don't want that. So let's get it, man. Links to the original video will be down below in the description. Y'all make sure to check it out if you want to. Serial killers is always something that I've been super interested in. I don't know why. It's just crazy to me how somebody can do that type of stuff. And it just makes me like inquisitive about that psychology that's going on in their brain. Fascinating to me. Anyway, Jeffrey Dahmer. If you don't know his backstory, I'm sure we're gonna find out during this video. So let's get into it, man. You ready? Yes, I'm one of those ass cheeks that has a gallon water bottle. It was $2 at the gas station. Like, I'm gonna pay $4 for a smart water, or I'm gonna pay $2 for this.
I desensitized myself to it.
February 1993, that was a year before I was born.
I don't know, I went to great lengths.
He is pure evil, but you'd never know it by looking at him. But when you hear him, that's another story. His killing field was Milwaukee, and he got away with murder for more than a decade. But how could any of this happen? For the first time ever, Nancy Glass is here, inside the world of Jeffrey Dahmer.
Bill, when I sat down opposite Jeffrey Dahmer for this interview, I wondered what he would tell me. How
She's totally got that 90s look.
hard it would be to get him to discuss his horrific crimes. What I found was that he was very forthcoming. He volunteered details that may be difficult to hear. I began by asking what he wanted from the men he picked up.
I had these obsessive desires and thoughts wanting to control them, to...
Control freak.
I don't know how to put it, possess them permanently.
And that's why you killed them.
Right, right. Not because I was angry with them, not because I hated them, but because I wanted to keep them with me. And as my obsession grew...
What the fuck?
I was saving body parts such as skulls and skeletons.
Jeffrey Dahmer is recalling his monstrous past. Almost 2 years ago in this little apartment in Milwaukee,
That is
police
creepy as
discovered
hell.
the grisly remnants of one of the most horrible crime sprees in American history. Jeffrey Dahmer, an unassuming chocolate factory worker, would eventually confess that he had seduced, murdered, and dismembered 17 young men. He even ate some of his victims' body parts. He instantly became the center of worldwide media attention.
Yeah.
A serial killer unmasked. There were protests and press conferences in Milwaukee as people tried to understand how this could have happened in their midst. How did Jeffrey Dahmer get away with
I've
murder
seen that
after
picture
murder
before.
for 13 years? How did a boy born into a hard-working, middle-class family turn into the worst kind of monster imaginable? In this exclusive interview, we put those questions to Jeffrey Dahmer himself. We met with him at the maximum security prison where he is serving his sentence of 999 years.
Oh my
God. For the first time, he talks about his crimes and gives us a chilling look inside the mind of a serial killer.
This is exactly what I'm talking
process.
about.
It doesn't happen overnight. When you depersonalize another person and view them as just an object for pleasure instead of a living, breathing human being, it seems to make it easier to
Okay. Dehumanize him.
do.
The
Okay.
reason why Jeffrey Dahmer was able to get away with his crimes was because of just what you are seeing here. Jeffrey Dahmer is intelligent and articulate.
Yeah.
That is what makes him so frightening.
That
And if
is
you listen
creepy as
carefully
hell,
to his
dude.
words throughout this interview, you realize it is a thin disguise. You do sound, though, like the kind of person who could have said to himself, "This is wrong. I must stop."
I always knew that it was wrong, but after the first killing was not planned. I was coming back from the shopping mall back in '78. I had had fantasies about picking up a hitchhiker and taking him back to the house and having complete control and dominance over him.
The hitchhiker's name was Stephen Hicks. He
Holy
was just 18.
shit.
Jeffrey Dahmer took him to his parents' house. There he strangled him with a barbell. He dismembered the body and hid it in a drain pipe. It was Jeffrey Dahmer who gave those details to the police in his confession.
And that wasn't planned?
No one had a clue as to what was happening for over a decade.
During that time, Jeffrey Dahmer joined the army and was sent to Germany. He was eventually discharged for a drinking problem and returned to Ohio.
Oh, shit.
9 years after Stephen Hicks' murder, the killing began again.
I didn't know
What happened
that.
to you in the 9 years in between that you were able to stop, that you were able to control yourself?
It just wasn't an opportunity to fully express what I wanted to do. There was just not the physical opportunity to do it then. And I started, when I moved to Milwaukee in '81, I started reading pornography, going to the bookstores. Eventually that led to frequenting the gay bars. And then one time I brought this young man back to the hotel room, the Ambassador Hotel. Was just planning on drugging him and spending the night with him. Had no intention of hurting him. When I woke up in the morning, he had a broken rib here, was heavily bruised. Apparently I had beaten him to death with my fists.
And you have no memory
I
of
have
it?
no memory of it. But that's what started the whole spree all over again.
Dahmer says he snuck the corpse of his victim, Stephen Toomey, out of his hotel room in a suitcase. Then he took it to his grandmother's house, where he cut up the body and put it in plastic garbage bags.
Dude,
When
what
you
the
killed these men,
fuck?
afterwards, were you repulsed? Were you upset?
No, at the time it was almost addictive. It was almost a surge of energy. I wouldn't have to worry about any of their needs or anything. I just had complete control of the situation.
But Jeffrey Dahmer was out of control.
God. Well, it's crazy. He just wants complete control. The scary thing too, dude, is like when he's talking about there wasn't the physical opportunity to make something like that happen. He is just like, he's very patient too. It's like he has controlled his urges. It's not like they overcome him to the point he has to do something stupid and spur of the moment. Like he waited 9 years to strike again.
urge to kill had overpowered him.
Oh my God.
As police later learned, he wasn't satisfied with his victim's death. He wanted more.
Why did you photograph them?
It was my way of remembering
A trophy.
Their appearance, their physical beauty. I also wanted to keep something. If I couldn't keep them there with me whole, at least I felt that I could keep their skeletons. And I even went so far as planning on setting
Weird
up
as
an
hell.
altar with the 10 different skulls and skeletons.
And what was the purpose of the altar going to be?
As a sort of memorial. A point where I could, I don't know, it's so bizarre and strange, it's hard to describe. A place where I could collect my thoughts and feed my obsession.
When the bodies were still in your
God,
house,
that's weird, man.
there was no time when you would see them and say, this is grotesque, what have I done?
There were times, but the compulsive obsession with doing what I was doing overpowered any feelings of revulsion.
This man with a quiet,
He is so eloquent. Like, it is terrifying, dude. And you can see, like, the pain, and not pain, but just, like, sadness and, like, trying to understand in her eyes. Like, you can see that. It's,
almost shy demeanor became a master manipulator who was able to lure strangers he met at gay bars to his apartment. He was even able to con the police into returning a 14-year-old boy to him after neighbors called 911 upset that the child was in the street naked and bleeding. Dahmer convinced the police that he and the boy were simply having a lover's quarrel.
What?
Intoxicated boyfriend of another boyfriend.
Well, how old was this child?
It wasn't a child, it was an adult.
After the police left, Jeffrey Dahmer murdered that boy, Conorak synthesome.
Oh
This man
my
says
God.
he had a near-fatal encounter with Jeffrey Dahmer.
How skilled do you have to be at manipulation to convince the cops that a child-looking man running down the street naked, covered in blood, is cool? And be like, yeah, let's return him back to that guy.
I'll take some picture of my back. He hit me with a rubber hammer on my neck.
He was lucky to escape because by then the killing had become almost routine.
Before you went out to pick up the man, was there any kind of ritual you went through?
I'd go to the
That's a good question.
nightclubs, drink, watch the striptease shows, and if I didn't meet anyone at the bars, I'd go to the bath clubs and meet someone there.
The hell's a bath club?
Offer them money, and we'd go back to the apartment, have a few drinks. I'd have the sleeping pill mixture already prepared. Person would drink it, fall asleep, and that's when they would be strangled.
Watching the movie Exorcist 3 was also part of his ritual. It put him in the mood for murder.
I felt
Whoa,
so
what the hell?
evil and perverted that I actually derived a sort of pleasure from watching that tape.
Did you like feeling evil?
No, I didn't. But I had tried to overcome the thoughts, and it worked for a while, but eventually I gave in.
While Jeffrey Dahmer may say things today that make it seem like he understands what went on in his mind, he does not. All he can do is tell you what happened, but he cannot stop whatever it is that drove him to kill in the first place.
Do you still feel those same urges? Do you still feel that compulsion, that obsession?
I wish I could say that it just left completely, but no, there are times when I still do have the old compulsions.
Jeffrey Dahmer says as time went on, his
scary.
mind became more and more warped, and yet he was clever enough to continue to elude police and lure young men to his apartment. We should warn you, the details are very graphic.
I started having these obsessive thoughts when I was about 15 and 16, and they got worse and worse.
What were your fantasies about?
They were sexual fantasies of control, power.
All that exhalation, that I don't know what that means. Is he like upset at what he did, or is he just like, I just wonder what that means, dude?
Dominance. They became reality.
Was there pleasure in that fantasy?
There was excitement, fear, pleasure, all mixed together.
Jeffrey Dahmer fulfilled his fantasies by murdering and dismembering 17 young men. In time, his desires became more extreme, his deeds more grotesque. Listen to him talk about the most unnatural things in the most matter-of-fact of ways. That's when you realize that none of it has touched him.
I was branching out. That's when the cannibalism started, eating of the heart and the arm muscle. It was a way of making me feel that they were a part of me.
Oh, shit.
At first
Yep, I knew
it
he was
was
gonna
just
say that.
curiosity, and then it became compulsive. Then I tried to keep the person alive by inducing a zombie-like state.
What?
By injecting...
Oh my God.
First dilute acid solution into their brain or hot water, and it never did completely work.
Could someone like you be stopped? Could you be helped?
No, I was I was dead set on going with this compulsion. It was the only thing that gave me any satisfaction.
He became so warped by his evil impulses that he even took a victim's head with him to work at the Ambrosia chocolate factory.
I kept the mummified head and skull of one of the victims in a carrying case in my locker at work.
Were you almost flaunting it?
Yes, but that's how strong the compulsion was. That's how bizarre the desire was. I wanted to keep something of the person with me.
Jeffrey Dahmer exhibited some disturbing behavior early on. He began.
And once you start pushing that threshold of like intensity in whatever you're doing, the line moves. So you do something a little bit, like say you're at, the crazy line for you is at 70%. You do something at 71%, it pushes it back. So the next time you've already done that 71% crazy thing. Next you can do a 73, 74, 75, and then the line gets pushed there. Then you do something even crazier than that, and it keeps getting further and further down the crazy fucking line. Oh, dude, the way that he's talking about cannibalism, just like he's talking about the weather, it's insane.
And drinking heavily as a teenager, dropped out of college, was arrested for indecent exposure, disorderly conduct, and fondling a 13-year-old boy. Tragically, one of his murder victims would be that boy's brother.
Do you know what started it? Was there any kind of incident that you can remember?
To this day, I don't know what started it. And the person to blame is sitting right across from you. That's the only person. Not parents, not society, not pornography. I mean, those are just excuses.
His macabre 13-year crime spree finally ended when this man, Tracy Edwards, brought the police to the infamous apartment. Like the others, he had gone there with the promise of money.
He was listening to my heart because at a point he told me he was going to eat my heart at that point. I hit him and I ran.
What was the turning point for you that made you suddenly realize that you had done something terribly wrong, something you should be sorry for?
It was the night of the arrest. I have no memory of what happened during the 6 hours before.
Does anybody know why he keeps not having memory of this stuff? Is it just like he goes into some sort of trance or tuned into the perfect level of like non-remembrance in his brain? Something takes over and he isn't even aware of what he's doing anymore? And if so, does he have the intent? And is he just saying that to, you know, wow.
The last victim ran out of the apartment. I heard a knock on the door and the police were there with the last.
Obviously he's had the intent if he's done this time and time again, but like in a certain situation, if you claim that, it's interesting.
Victim. They asked me where the key was to the handcuffs. My mind was in a haze. I sort of pointed to the bedroom, and that's where they found the pictures. And they yelled, "Cuff him." And I was handcuffed, and it was just the realization that there was no point in trying to hide my actions anymore. The best route was to help the police identify all the victims and just make a complete confession.
When it was revealed that most of the victims were black or homosexual, people in Milwaukee were incensed. Many felt that was why he went after them and why the police didn't seem to care when their families reported them missing.
10 of your 17 victims were black. Were they racially motivated
It was
crimes?
not racially motivated. It was not sexual preference. It was just to find an obsession with the best-looking young man I could find.
While you just heard him say that his sexual preference had nothing to do with the killings, he has not come to terms with his homosexuality.
Never understood it. There was no use trying to fight it because I couldn't rid myself of it. It was too powerful and persistent.
Do you dislike it?
Yes, it's caused a lot of problems for me. A lot of conflicts and unanswered questions.
The conflicts remain with him, and so do his compulsions. But in prison, he finally cannot act on his savage desires.
If you were out on the street now,
I wonder what that's doing to him on the inside.
Probably. If this hadn't happened, there's no doubt I probably would be. I can't think of anything that would have stopped me.
Jesus Christ, dude. That's the type of stuff that I'm talking about. Like, for someone to be able to do that type of shit, they are not well mentally. And he seems so together and so eloquent, and he can just put together sentences so perfectly that it's very chilling and extremely haunting, and it's just like terrifying. Oh my god, dude. He's like one of the only serial killers though that I've seen that's like, yeah, let's make a full confession. Like, almost not proud of his actions. It's just something overcame him that he wanted to do that type of thing. Dude, that is creepy as hell. Boy puts a mummified head into a bag and brings it to work and puts it in his locker. Oh my god, dude. This was by far one of the most interesting videos I've ever seen on the channel, and if you are into this sort of thing, stick around. We could be doing some more of these. If you have any more serial killer interviews you want me to check out, drop them down below in the comments and I will get to those. And with that being said, that's where you guys come in. Drop some comments down below. Let me know what you think about serial killers, Jeffrey Dahmer, and their psychology in general. I would love to know what you have to think about it. And with that being said, that's all I got for you today, so keep smiling. Keep being yourself. Don't let anybody throw shade at you. I will see you tomorrow. That's a motherfucking facto, yeah. Love y'all. Peace!
Hey, either way it goes, I was born to be a screw up. Do the wrong thing and I'm gonna fuck you up. Okay, crew, got my back like pull up. Sipping on the liquor, but it goes straight through us. Squad full of killers and a swag like Jewers. You got a squad full of